Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Spellbinders report doing the weekly newsletter. The unfiltered news from the reality zone where political correctness is not spoken. Compiled by G. Edward Griffin and the News Scouts that he has. For the month, or actually the week of, June 2nd through June 8th, 2012. This is the modern day Andrew Jackson in the Fed with Ron Paul. Got some very bad news about that, which leads us to our first headline. U.S. Senator Rand Paul has formally endorsed Mitt Romney. He said that his father, Ron Paul, remains as his first choice, but now that the delegate selection is over, he will endorse Romney's ticket. This has caused a firestorm of anger from Ron Paul's supporters. Infowars, June 8th. Well, it seems like it has happened, and it's sad that it came to this, but that's what happens when you have the Republican Party cheating him every step of the way from the very first state, Iowa, until the very last. They just cheated him, took everything that they could from him, and gave it to Romney. And so that's what happens. That's what happens when the Republican Party itself is as corrupt as the Democratic Party. And you got the same coin with two different heads, an elephant and a jackass. And that's what you got. And this is what happens in America. You no longer have fair, the people's choice doesn't matter anymore. It's the corporate choice. The crony corporatist of Wall Street and, everyone else in the world, the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds that choose who is going to be the president and not us. We don't get to choose no more. It's out of our hands, it appears. Next article, headline. Russia launches an intercontinental ballistic missile that reportedly can penetrate U.S. defense shields. This is a display of power to show disdain for the U.S. shield based in Europe. Newsroom, America, June 8th. Next, thousands of people in Israel and the Middle East panicked over a mysterious spiraling light in the sky that coincided with a Russian missile test. A similar light appeared above Norway in 2009 that was later reported to be a Russian missile. Daily Mail, June 8th. Another spiral in the sky. Interesting. Article of interest in the Keep. Star. Carnegie Institute recommends geoengineering to block direct sunlight by 20% to stop global warming, of course. The time for denial of chemtrails is over. Now they're admitting that this is what they're doing with it. Problem is they're using very dangerous substances like barium, which is a cancer-causing agent, and aluminum, which causes Alzheimer's disease. So, they're gonna cut the light off by 20%, probably cutting the very rays that our bodies need to live, and make us sick so the pharmaceutical companies can make a bundle from our illness. Remember, they don't cure, they just treat. Ask them, they'll tell you so. June 7th, Infowars. U.S. Federal Reserve proposes a requirement for banks to have a reserve on hand equal to 7%. That's not very much. Of loans outstanding as a cushion for emergencies. I think it should be 70%, but they forgot the zero. Or did they? Larger banks will be allowed to have a cushion of 3% of total assets. It sounds like they're setting themselves up for a fall. Fed Chairman Bernanke, the bankster, says banks are safer now than before and spins these ratios as tough new rules. Oh, really? Those are tough new rules, huh? I wouldn't see it that way, when in fact they are pitifully inadequate in the event of more bank losses such as have been common in the past 4 years. CNN, June 7th. This is a bunch of baloney. This should have a zero on it. And this should be actually about the same, if not higher. I think the larger banks should have an 80% of total assets. But now, according to Bernanke, they don't need that. I don't know. They can crash anytime they want now. Anyways. San Diego. A lawsuit was filed against the water district for adding fluoride to drinking water. The complaint stated, correctly, that fluoride is a drug, and when added to water, because it is intended to have an effect on the body, adding drugs to water supply constitutes mass medication without consent of those being medicated and without control over dosage. The California federal court said that this doesn't matter and dismissed the case. Plaintiffs will appeal, and they should. PR Web, June 7th. They are basically medicating you through your drinking water without your consent. Actually, there should be a class action lawsuit against this, so it will stop it from happening anywhere else and get the poison out of our water, because this fluoride doesn't just have fluoride in it, it has all types of stuff in it. And the fluoride it has in it isn't the right fluoride. It's not calcium fluoride. Oh no. It's sodium fluoride and worse. Just wrong. I mean, they're talking about putting lithium in the water to calm the people's minds so they won't stand up against the government taking away all our rights. That's what the idea of putting lithium in the water was about. And that's still being bounced around in Capitol Hill. Man. Another article of interest. CAT scans triple the risk of brain tumors in children. Natural Society, June 17th. Of course, the minds are developing and the radiation is not good for them. NATO airstrike kills 18 Afghan civilians at a wedding party. Again, they're just killing everybody because of association or being near a supposed terrorist. 20 more are killed by Taliban forces near a NATO base. U.S. support of NATO continues to turn formerly friendly Afghanis into enemies, but enemies are exactly what the U.S. military needs to justify its presence in the Middle East. So all is well. Indian Express, June 6th. That's right, they're just calling it collateral damage. You know, if you just happen to be near the terrorists, when they blow them up with a bomb, it would take out, 1,000 square foot area. If you just happen to be 1,000 square feet away from the terrorists, well, you just become a casualty of war. That's all they're saying, which isn't right. You know it isn't right. They should be in there with sniper teams if they want to do stuff like that and take out just the terrorists, but that's not the point. All of them are terrorists to the government. Even the American people are terrorists to the government, our government, the world government. How many ways do we have to say it? It's money junkies deciding who lives and who dies. New York police officer karate chopped an off-duty state Supreme Court judge. Yeah, they're going around chopping them in the throat without knowing who he was, when the judge was part of a crowd that was objecting to excessive police violence during an arrest. The judge probably spoke the loudest because he saw the injustice going on and that the cop had no right to be beating on this person beyond this submission. The story here is that the officer likely will be disciplined for his actions, but only because he struck a judge. Or actually, if you strike a judge like that, he should be in Leavenworth or worse prison for hitting an official. If we have hit the official, we'd be in prison. This police officer should be in prison too, if he knows it or not, what he was doing. He's not supposed to go around and karate chop people in the throat. You can kill somebody by crushing their windpipe. Had it been an ordinary citizen, it is clear from the story that any complaint would have been ignored. That's right. If it was you or me, it would just been ignored and said, yeah. New York Times, June 5th. New York police are just out of control. They're part of the problem and not the solution. They're mafia. They're gangs, actually. They have gang mentality. U.S. federal judge orders the FDA to stop ignoring antibiotics added to animal feed that are transmitted to humans through meat consumption and lead to the creation of superbugs that become resistant to all antibiotics. It is a pathetic sign of our times that a court has to force the FDA to do its job of protecting the public health instead of protecting profits of the food and drug industries. That's right. They're the ones the money junkies are protecting. Natural Society, June 5th. Wisconsin's Governor Scott Walker is the first governor to survive a recall election funded by the unions. He reformed public employees' benefits and unfunded pensions that were bankrupting the state. His success may set an example for others. Human Events, June 5th. And it just shows that the unions don't have that big of a power over anything, which they shouldn't. I mean, the unions are nothing more than mafia in themselves. Look at the guy running the main union. His dad was Hoffa. Oh well. Another article of interest. Global warming tax advocate James Hansen admits that global warming is caused primarily by sources other than man-made greenhouse gases from fossil fuels. Think about that. If carbon tax is not designed to reduce environmental pollution, then it must be provide another source of tax revenue and to allow more government control over society. That's right, taking money from your pocket, putting it in theirs, and making you less able to buy and enjoy life. You have to keep punching away at work, 2 or 3 jobs, so you can survive. That's what they want. They want you to keep your mind off of what they're doing and keep your mind on your job. That's all it is. Occupy corporatism, June 4th. Louisiana GOP spirals into chaos as Ron Paul delegates are injured and arrested. This is the Raw Story article, June 4th. And this guy was there as a Ron Paul supporter. The police came and knocked him around, threw him down on the ground, broke his hip. He was about 70, I think he was about 70 years old, and they threw him on the ground, broke his hip. And then there was a bunch of people sitting around there going, "Are you okay? We're getting to the hospital now," and all this stuff. And the cops are sitting there and acting like, "Well, I did my job. That's what I'm supposed to do." No, you're not. You're not supposed to do that. That's not your job. You're peace officers. You're not what you're been told you are. Police officers. You're peace officers. U.S. Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta announced that the U.S. Navy will increase its presence in the Pacific, including a military base in Vietnam. Again, we're going back to Vietnam. I guess they're getting over what happened to them before, so we got to go back there and beat up on them again. China considers this a threat and immediately expressed concern over the announcement. Russia Today, June 4th. That's what they're up to, out trying to pick fights again, because, you know, the industrial complex is not making enough money if they're not selling bullets and bombs. And the only way they can do that if they keep having wars after wars. They need to shut them down and turn them into peaceful factories again, instead of war factories. The EPA is flying drones over Nebraska and Iowa to spy on farmers. They say this is to protect Americans from violators of the Clean Water Act. This article reminds us that the EPA is not authorized by the U.S. Constitution. Environmental protection rightfully is within the jurisdiction of the states only, not the federal government. Feds, go back to your 5-mile square area called Washington District of Criminals and leave the states alone. InfoWars, June 4th. That is what should be happening there. Brazil. 5 million farmers sue Monsanto, you know, the crony corporate, over having to pay royalties on saved seeds. 85% of their soy crop now is GMO, which is very harmful and dangerous to eat. Russia Today, June 4th. I'm glad that they're suing them. They're suing them for a great amount of money, too, and I hope it puts Monsanto basically out of business. Their GMO corn and GMO stuff, it takes Roundup and absorbs it, so when you eat the corn, you're eating the damn pesticide. Or the herbicide of Roundup. Man, it's just not right. You shouldn't have to eat the poison that you're spraying on the plants. It's supposed to wash off and you have clean plant to eat. But oh, not Roundup genetically engineered corn. It absorbs it like a sponge and then it goes into the corn and you're eating it. The corn cobs. Poll shows that Californians no longer want an outrageously expensive high-speed rail system. They are concerned by the low demand for such a system. It will only be used by a few, and the fact that California already is drowning in debt. Nevertheless, the project is going full speed ahead because it is a politician's dream. They get to spend $98 billion. The money junkies get to spend money, which will not be enough, and award lucrative contracts to their cronies and financial supporters, more money junkies. The money will come from the new carbon tax. That's right, they're trying to do an Australian carbon tax on California. I hope you Californians are smart enough to tell them to go take that carbon tax and shove it where the sun don't shine, because that's where it belongs. Do you know that there's more deadlier chemicals that are released from factories that are producing solar panels and solar cells, the solar cells? Oh yeah, there's all types of cyanide and stuff like that being released into the atmosphere. Stuff that makes carbon dioxide look like a harmless, absolutely negative harmless gas, or just so far the other way that it's almost like air we breathe. I mean, that's how dangerous, and they're building all these factories to build these solar panels, and they're just polluting the air with this deadly poisonous gases. Man, see, it's money junkies. It has nothing to do with carbon dioxide at all. It has everything to do with money from your pocket to theirs. Bloomberg, June 3rd. This is amazing what they're getting away with. Colorado farmers are facing a crop-killing drought, but the state government will not allow them to pump water from their irrigation wells, even though there is so much water just a few feet beneath the surface that the raising levels are flooding basements and filling septic tanks. WorldNet Daily, June 2nd. This is government gone nuts. This is what government gone nuts is all about. They have gone completely bonkers. They're off the rocker. You know, there's all types of stuff I can come up with to say. The cuckoo is cuckooing in their heads. I mean, this is just nuts. And the Colorado farmers aren't able to tap the water just underneath the ground because they're saying, oh, no, it's a crop-killing drought. But the state government will not allow them to pump water from their irrigation wells. Oh, no. It's flooding their basements. But that's okay. You can't touch that water. I don't know when the feds ever got control over Colorado like they did. But the state government is doing this to them. And that should be brought to attention to everyone in Colorado. Actually, it should be on the mainstream news, but they're not going to report that. They're too busy reporting anything but what you need to know. What a crime we live in. Government turned criminal. Are doctors bribed by the CDC to push vaccines on their patients? Maybe not bribed outright, but there are plenty of financial incentives that come pretty close. You know, they give them gifts and stuff, you know, stuff that the government's not allowed to receive. You know, if you go over, and it's like our troops when they went to Iraq and they took care of Saddam Hussein, and the Saudi prince wanted to give all our troops almost like mercenaries gifts and everything. And they said, no, we can't accept those gifts, those, you know, ruby studded daggers and stuff like that, because that would make us out to be mercenaries. So what do? We hire mercenaries. That's right, and send them over to Afghanistan and Pakistan, and that's where they're at now. Oh well. This is Mercola, June 2nd. Doctors being bribed? Oh yeah, they're being bribed, but just not outright with bundles of cash. Oh no, it's like gifts and free flights to places, vacations, you know, stuff like that. There's an actual video out there, if I can remember the name of it, where a doctor actually gets on there and tells you, oh yeah, they used to give me all types of stuff, the pharmaceutical companies give me all types of free vacations and stuff, and I would get all this money from, you know, like bonuses for selling so much of their product, pushing it on to the public That's what they are. They're just drug pushers in a white shirt and stethoscope, white gown and stethoscope, and that's what they are. All right, let's go on. Obama defiles the court ruling that declared indefinite detention of Americans under the NDAA to be unconstitutional. He says the injunction only applies to the plaintiffs named in the lawsuit. Oh, really? I thought it went across the constitutional law and went across the books that way, that no American can be without due process, be just swiped off the street and never seen again. Western Journalism, June 2nd. Unbelievable. Obama is just a socialist from hell. He's a dictator. I guess he was raised as that. I've read a couple of articles on Drudge that say that Obama was raised as a dictator. That's the way it was. It wasn't today. It was a while ago, so it'd be in the archives. Western Journalism, June 2nd. Ireland votes for austerity under threat that otherwise the EU would no longer come to its aid with bailouts. Well, that means you got to get rid of the government then. The government's the one taking all these taking all these loans, not the people. The people probably say, what the hell are you doing? We didn't give you authority to do that. Well, I guess they're not like our government, which they're not listening either, which are supposed to listen to the people. They're not supposed to take money from anywhere unless they get permission from us, if it's above and beyond what we have to pay back. The Irish do not realize that they themselves are the ones who ultimately pay for their own bailouts through inflation. Now, I guess the people there are not awake yet in Ireland to realize they're being screwed by their government. So now they lose their independence and their money. That's right, they're no longer independent. If you owe money to somebody, you're no longer sovereign, because you're not sovereign if you're not in control of your money. It's just like the U.S. owes China so much money that we're not in control of our country. It's no longer sovereign. It's just the way it is. Russian Today posted June 2nd. Look, here we go. Rothschild and Rockefeller form an investment bank strategic partnership, which gives Rothschild a significant foothold in the U.S. financial industry. That's right, the major money junkie is taking control. CNBC, June 2nd. Rothschild and the Rockefellers, man, they own the world. That's what they've done. They have went out and bought the world. They have made money from nothing and bought the world with it. And as long as everyone goes along with the idea that what they did was legal and good, because it's written on a piece of paper, and it means nothing if it's not for our good as the whole, they need to be punished. Ventura County, California, local government is forcing rural businesses to shut down by rezoning their land. That's right, they'll just rezone the land and say, oh, you can't have that business here. They do this because, one, they want humans out of rural lands, and two, this forces owners to sell to the state at much lower prices than if they were fairly compensated under eminent domain, which they no longer, the state governments are no longer honoring their eminent domain clauses. In other words, the county government is committing extortion to steal the property of its citizens. Yeah, they went up there and stole, I think it was the Hope's bar that was up in the hills there outside of L.A. Up in the mountain area. There was like a bar and a cafe, lounge, whatever, and it was Bob Hope's family owns it, and they kicked them off of their own property. I just saw a video on that the other day. The Blaze posted June 2nd. Here we go again. Video. Ron Paul's Restore America plan proposes getting rid of the Department of Interior. This analysis shows why that is a great idea and how it would help the American economy. G. Edward Griffin explains how Ron Paul's Restore America plan brilliantly combines popular political slogans with sound ideological principles. This is YouTube, May 28th. Greece will hold elections on June 17th, which will determine whether it will leave the Eurozone or accept harsh austerity, the austerity measures, in return for another bailout from the EU. This analysis predicts that the leaving the EU would not be as traumatic as most think, and that it could bring many benefits, or there could be many benefits. Well, that's it for this week. That's the unfiltered news from G. Edward Griffin's newsletter. I'll have a link to the newsletter at the bottom and in the show more, and you'll be able to go here and actually read these articles and get the full story of headlines you may have missed. Until next time, have a wonderful weekend. Be good, or be good at it. Good day.